meeting to order. We need approval for the minutes from the last month. Anybody?
I'll approve them from last month.
I'll second.
The meetings from last month, there we go.
Approved. Okay, and on our top of our list is Gary Regoin, discussion of possible recommendation for appointment. He's not here.
Was he on the park board before, or was he on planning commission?
Did he like forget to, maybe forgot?
I didn't remind him today, but.
Shouldn't happen.
No. Okay, well, let's move on to unfinished business, review recommendations approved by the council. We gave them a whole bunch of recommendations and what happened?
They accepted all of them.
They did, okay.
Okay. With one exception. Is that Eric would like to look more closely at some of the RV spots that actually had a lot more revenue in them. As to whether or not.
Sorry,
That's
that's my
No,
my insulin going down, that's all.
Right.
My sugars are dropping.
Here, we'll wait.
No, it's okay.
Is it something she said?
I know. Eric would like to possibly consider boosting those spots a little bit more than $5.
Okay.
But he hasn't thought about it much beyond what I just said.
Yeah.
So the idea being, if it's one that people ask for all the time, that you should be able to get
They are
more.
they are the longer spots.
Sure.
And his rationale is that those are the very expensive rigs that are rolling in.
Sure,
and
sure.
Doing it a more of a boost
Yeah.
probably.
But even if they aren't, then they're getting more space and that kind of,
Yes.
so yeah, I think that's a good suggestion.
Yeah.
We could do it all by the foot.
Yeah, well, you don't want to get it too complicated for the system,
Yeah,
and but it certainly would be reasonable to raise. There's two of them.
there's either 2 or 3.
There's the one Poland, which is a really big one. 2. I'm trying to
Yeah.
remember.
2 is a long pull through, and then there is a fairly long back end, if I recall.
Correct.
That's like 10 or 11. I can't remember which side of the street it's on. But
So I would make the motion that we would modify our recommendation to the council. For their approval that the rates for the 3 better RV spots would be raised $10 rather than $5. Is that correct?
well, I think at this point, the fact that you made the recommendation to raise rates, I think council probably will just take it within their purview and figure out a number.
Sure,
So
no problem.
What does the council think?
Sounds good. I'm making notes, I'm gonna take it back to council, see what everybody else says.
That's okay.
No, but I would agree, if they're kind of prime spots anyway, getting the most use.
Well, people are gonna come, they're gonna fill those first and so they'll pay the extra amount.
But can I ask what we charge now for an RV site?
35
and
and 70 during the winter time.
75.
Oh, 75 during.
And the recommendation at last council, well, that you saw was to boost from 35 to 40.
I still think my son has an RV now, but we have another anyway, and RV sites are pretty pricey. So that's still not a bad rate.
And you kind of have to look at the differences of different parks, which you can see. Yes, a lot of those pricier ones have septic and everything that you can use. Whereas they just have water and power, which is good, and they get the dump, they can dump it. But some of those really expensive ones, like when you go to them that are They have everything to it.
Yeah. The
Everything.
full service at the state
Correct.
parks are $45. And the partial service or just the site that without full service is I think 35. So that is our prices certainly are not overly.
And
No,
some-
they're not.
Some places have things like swimming pools and things like
Right.
that,
That's true.
but we have a ton.
Yeah, I mean. who wants to
Oh,
stay in
no,
state park if it's-
the park itself is beautiful and people are just really.
Yeah.
They like it the way it is.
Yeah.
They says no, so.
All right, anything else? You made a motion,
But she said we really don't need one.
Let that motion die.
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Just put it
That
down.
would be. Let's see, moving on, I have on my list here, budget. Yeah, I was thinking, what did we find out about budget?
Well, your recommendations got put into the park section as far as tree trimming and maintenance and things of that sort. So at this point,
Are we gonna have our own budget or? Not
you
yet?
are a subset of some of the public works budget. You're not free to spend it, but you're free to ask to spend it. So, and there's some, amenability to possibly front loading some money for the walk in the park. But if you guys are going after sponsorship, that may be a moot point.
Sure.
But, so.
At some point, we're gonna have to, not yet, but we're gonna have to figure out how we're gonna manage the walk in the park and who's in charge of it and all that kind of stuff and or different parts of it, how we want to break it up. Okay, Wi-Fi in the park. What did Mary find out?
So Mary had no status, but Rachel has been in contact with Toledo Tel. And my suggestion to Mary and Rachel was to actually get Aaron from Toledo Tel here and get all the interested parties together to kind of get the rest of this taken care of, because Rachel has already started talking to him about cameras and the feed into City Hall from the cameras, which is now starting to cross purpose what Mary is trying to accomplish. So we're gonna try to get them all together and get all the business taken care of at once, so. And we don't have a proposed time yet.
Okay. Aaron and Mike Fisher and Gary Boyne, maybe we need to have a chauffeur service for them to get them to these meetings. Okay, and the next item on the list is you.
What?
Your status with you. How are you? Are you with us?
I still want to be with
Yeah,
you.
okay.
There's
Good.
not,
We want you-
yeah, no, cause no, I still want to be part of it. It's just that it's been,
Yeah.
kind of hectic trying to get. Like when. I'm an assistant manager, but I'm doing the manager's job,
Oh, sure.
so. And just trying to get time off and then people call in sick and guess who has to go cover?
We go through the merits.
Yes, all the time.
So, I guess you're okay with it, and what we were kind of talking about was, well, maybe if we move the time or.
I was thinking about it and. The problem is if somebody calls in sick and I have to go in, I have to go in. So you move a time and then. It's not really,
Yeah.
it's kind of a washout. Like I would hate to say, oh yeah, make it at like 4 o'clock and then poof, I can't do it. So what I'm trying to do now, since I work with a schedule that I get. I just have to get the exact dates and then I can take that and put those days that I can make sure I can make it here.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
Second Tuesday of every month at 3 o'clock.
Um, Okay, one of the things I don't see anything sacred with the 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I know when I approached Rebecca the other day at the memorial thing there. She says, well, yeah, I can come, but I have a job.
Right.
Yeah, and so, but since Mr. Fisher doesn't come to these anyhow, and that's the reason we're doing it during this time, is so that.
Well, eventually Carly will be doing what I'm doing, and that also falls within her work schedule and cutting down on comp time. So,
To do like what I do. They come in later. Can they do that?
oh, yeah,
Couldn't she come in later and not do comp?
yeah, but yes,
I just,
yeah. Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever works. I mean, you're gonna have an odd man out regardless of what you decide.
correct. Always.
Okay, well, I guess that's it for unfinished business. Other business, public input. Oh, hi, Joe.
I don't know if you want to hear it.
No.
So we did not get the RCO grant, which was to get public works, a replacement for the 43-year-old tractor and the one pickup truck that the city had. We do have a service truck, but we only have one pickup truck, and that's aging,
Yeah.
So, and my understanding is you have to have 2 separate vehicles, because you can't use the stuff that you used on the sewer and mix it into the stuff you're working on the water system. Makes sense.
Even if you wash it off really good.
I don't think so. So,
You were talking, so I wanted to.
we did not get the grant. In fact, we were number 71 down on the list. Very few. It was the intent of the legislature of this was for deferred maintenance. So small towns, it was supposed to go to small towns, and who got it? 2 guesses, all the big cities. 5 little places got it, and under 5,000, and I think 4 maybe up to the 10,000 population number. They use the criteria of need, social vulnerability, so each of these were ranked, readiness to proceed, and low income locality, something to that effect. And we ranked number 4 going down. So 0 is the wealthiest in the state, and 1. So places like Mercer Island and all those places that are really wealthy, but we're number 4. We should have been number 8 in that scheme of things. If we had been ranked correctly, we would have been in the top, one of the top. So my thing was, how is this even, what is social vulnerability? So I was so miffed by the time I got through looking at all the criteria and how they ranked us, that I wrote a letter, and I was really miffed. And put in there how unfair the system was, that people that had multi-million-dollar budgets were competing with people with no budgets, and who won? The people with the huge budgets. That's not what this was intended for. And so in the meantime, right about the time I got finished with this letter, I got a call from RCO on a totally different matter, and we got talking for an hour and a half, and I just told him that how unfair it was, and it turns out that he had something to do with it. He said, when I saw the list, he said, I'm gonna tell you, Joe, right up front, he said, I've been sick for 3 days over it. He said, can't sleep. He said, it was terrible. He said, we agreed 100%, so.
Who does the evaluating or the?
RCO, yeah, that's Recreation and Conservation Office.
Okay, so some bureaucrats.
Yeah.
somewhere.
Some of the state employees would be doing it. And he, I think, is going to be also involved in, which is why he was calling me, because the person that had the job for the upcoming community outdoor athletic facilities, that's 1.2 million. And my thing is, can we get a plan made for that? you know, we need to start preparing if this is coming up. What do you think? And so, this is what his call was. So the call lasted an hour and a half. With the upshot, they asked me to be on the, state advisory board. I don't know, I told them, I said, I'm not trying to see that one done right now. Got no interest in going to Seattle. So I said, if it's Zoom meetings and stuff, we'll talk about it. I don't know. In the meantime, my letter to the director, went, and she's out of the state, so she's assigned her, I guess, assistant director, Minion. Yeah, he's probably farther down than I think, poor guy. So I think they're gonna work with us, and I also really plugged how we have nothing here. How did places with all kinds of use facilities and everything else bypass that we have none? So, I really talked up that we need the ball field, or the field up at the top fixed and everything else. And so it was very favorable. And so I called Amanda. They were already working on it, and they had, or Mandy, I think, I'm not sure what her name is. Anyway, she works at the school district office.
Yeah.
And, so, I told her that it sounded very favorable this time, because prior they could not apply. School districts were not eligible for this. And so my thing was, this is, in this town, this would be a community facility. It's not just a school district facility.
Right.
So hopefully that will help. Got a reply from Representative Orcutt as well. Not so promising, but, so anyway, I have to respond to him, but I have to wait till I can do that.
So RCO is Recreation.
And Conservation Office, there's a subdivision of like, not natural resources, but wildlife, you know what I'm saying? That bigger head, I can't think of their name. I got a COVID shot yesterday, and I'm kind of under the weather. I can hardly think of doing that. But, so this went also to the governor, who I have not heard back from, but I'm assuming it's going to be coming. But so far, everybody's been favorable. And, you know, I mean, I can prove it. Do you know what I'm saying? Everything I said in the letter, I can prove it. It's just ridiculous. So anyway, so that's out for right now. So, as far as the playground system, went to, the hotel motel, made our presentation. And thankfully, I had a bad experience a couple of years ago, and before Di was on it. And this time was much favorable, but I worked myself into a dither, so Rachel came to be with me, which was kind of nice. But yeah, I figured I was going to get run down into the ground, but it went very well. I just not very hopeful that we will get too much. We may get a few things on that, if anything. They had some really good presentations, and they had more requests, way more requests than they had money for. You know, and this really is a bit of a stretch about tourism, but I approached it from the thing that it's infrastructure. And if we don't improve this, how are we going to make things better? So the wiggle stop idea is that we would bring traffic in from off the freeway. Unfortunately, this is not something that anybody had heard of before in the state, and the idea is a new concept. And since there's no protocols for it, we really don't know what to do about it. And saying yes would be too difficult. So I said, well, what if we just say that there's park and camping spots? They have criteria for that. You have to have 22 spots altogether. So Mike Fisher and I kind of were over there on another thing to do with it. And we were talking, there's tons of room to add 6 more dry camping spots if we want to do that. I finally did get permission that I can apply if we put those other ones in. I can apply, but they're looking at me putting up a whole new sign for $1,500, and then whatever the costs are for the signage, which is probably going to be $1,000 at least. And then every year it's $683 at least for each one.
Highway Department.
To a highway department. So we have to decide before we get to that point, is that something that we want to have tied to us?
Sure.
But on the other hand, it will bring a lot of people in. It will bring a lot of people in.
Now, the idea or the term wiggle stop, has that come from somewhere else, or did you come out of your head? No.
I thought it came probably from me seeing it somewhere else. My son said, That would be no, that is what you always called it, the little stop.
Oh.
I said, oh, okay, so, yeah. So I thought, well, we've got to tie it in and bring people off the freeway, and we do meet the criteria, it's 3.5 miles, guess what? We're 3.5 miles exactly off the freeway, so we do meet that criteria. And, what they told me that parks cannot be put on the freeway signage, and I said, well, how come Chehalis has it? And he said, what are you talking about? It's been outlawed, there's no such thing on state, the freeway. And I said, there's a humongous sign, I drive by it all the time. And I said, not only that, you have a series of signs as you get off, saying this way to Penn Park, this way to the pool, this way to, And so whatever they do, he brought it right up and was looking at it, and he said, holy cow. So I said, he told him he was gonna give my name to him and tell him that we're taking their stuff. And I said, that's not my intent. My thing is, if they can do it, why can't we? Could we be, he was like, wow, that kind of sets a bad precedent, But anyway, we could apply for it, and it's sounding pretty promising. And they do understand the predicament and feel sorry for us and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
We'll see. So that's basically on that stage. I don't know if everyone has seen the first bid that we got, which was from Burke. I only went with places in this state because if things go bad, we need to be able to deal directly with them. Do you know what I mean? If the delivery doesn't show up, it's a whole lot less money if they're charging us to deliver, if it's like close. This first group is the Buell Recreation. They're out of Portland. And I believe when the city needed to replace one of the slides, that's who they dealt with on that. What I did find out when I was doing all of this was that we want to replace some of the beat up parts, the really bad parts on the existing to make them live longer, and parts of those equipments are perfectly fine. It's only the metal stuff that's just rusted and flaking off. What I found out is no one will sell it to me because it's not their equipment and they don't want to be liable. So track down the company that actually has that, which is, let me see, Play World. So I got that off the little paper sticker that survived all those years, like mega years. It's probably 40 years old. It's been here 17. So, and we got it secondhand. So their presentation is not as good. This one includes shipping, installation, solid surface. I don't know if anybody's been down to a Penny Playground. They call it wood fiber stuff, but it would be exactly what they have. So this one is $68,000 for just the 3 pieces, which would be swing set, sound garden, and what we used to call a merry-go-round kind of thing. But it would be level so that a wheelchair can pull right onto it. And the sound garden, you'll see here, they can actually, a child in a wheelchair can be pulled right up next to it. And it's got a guitar and xylophone. And we're looking at putting it on the farther edge. There's no houses on that end of the bathroom versus now we have apartment buildings and that other house is going in closer. So we don't really want them to be made insane. And from what I understand, it's not obnoxious. This one has wind chime looking things. And I'm thinking, oh man, I've heard those things. It makes a lot of racket. So, have you seen this yet?
No.
Okay, I'll send those to you. So the second one is $68,000, but it doesn't have as much. Doesn't talk about installation. Doesn't talk about. And I'll send that one around too. Excuse me.
Thank you.
So, it doesn't talk about what kind of surface, solid surface. That's why it's so much less. And the swing set, very small. It just has handicap. So, where do we go from here? We're going to try for a $50,000. It's called statewide grant from the tribe. Let me clarify the Cowlitz tribe. They changed the rules that from now on, all of a sudden, they will be meet with you And I think at that point you'll be invited or not invited to apply. So, and I'm assuming it's Zoom meeting, because a lot of the tribal members are really spread out. So, but we'll have to make an appointment. The city cannot do that, it's nonprofit only. So it will either have to be the Lions Club or Vision Toledo. And whoever it is has their financial documentation really in order for who I go with, I think. I did talk to Chris and Dan, they were right in front of us as far as our presentation for the hotel motel tax. So they're next, that will be coming up, and then they're gonna make a decision. So I've got to figure out real quick here. I just found out about that change. The next round of grants will be January. So they'll have various rounds throughout the year of 2024. And so I'd like to get on that and make an appointment. So, and it's gonna be a lot of competition because it's statewide. You know, we don't qualify for their personal grant, which is only Cowles County. So it's easier to get help. The next grant is coming up, a webinar on the on the 16th here, so I think that's Thursday. Pretty sure that's Thursday, and that's an invitation only from the Paul G. Howard Foundation through their arts law. Sorry, excuse me. So I don't know yet what that is, but it's they talk about culture and they talk about recreation. So it's very unknown. It's up in the air. I have no idea what it's going to entail, when it starts, how much the fund is, but we need about 115,000 probably to make everything happen that we would like to happen. So that's what I'm sure for. And right now we have, I think, 15,100 altogether.
With the pledges.
With the pledges, yeah. So 5,000 from Tuesday's committee, 5,000 from the Lions Club, 5,000 from Vision Toledo, and $100 from Wyatt's dad, who's the memorial project for his son. So I kind of think that kind of brings you up to date.
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
So this one here, this is all they give you for toys and things?
Well, that's 3. That's what we asked for. It's about 3 because we thought, well, that's what we're going to be able to afford when we start seeing 20 grand, 18,000. It doesn't take very long. The state at the hotel motel said, I can't believe you're going to do it for that, because we just put 4 things in and it came to 150,000. So yeah, we're going to keep the existing that we already have. We're not taking those out. We're just adding to that. If we can fit in some more, if those pieces that we want to replace and I can get all the funding, yeah.
And so there, I was just wondering, I didn't see the minutes, I'm sorry. When it came to the playground part of it, was there, like, for the old stuff, was there going to be fixing it, replenishing it, and making it better? Okay.
Yeah, it's to replace all of the steps and stairs and everything, because what's happening is the metal has separated and is flaking. And they're rubberized to begin with, kind of like those benches need to be replaced. Those are gonna be going. You have to put in to make it tie in with tourism, we have to put in a kiosk down there too. So there's a lot of things going on. Yeah.
We have to put a kiosk in the playground or in the play or in
And
the park?
play area that will have notification of events and different things, and other places, brochures, and that will tie us into getting tourism dollars.
Got it.
Yeah. Trying everything we can think of so that we meet. Did you get this one? Okay. So yeah. That one's the 68,000. And they were on it, right on. The other one I had to really go after her to get it. And as you can see, I don't have a price yet for all the replacement parts, although in her favor, she said they're really trying to look, because You know, I mean, it's so old, they don't have any staff that were around when that was done, so, yeah, they're trying to figure it out. So. And if we have enough money, it would be nice to take out all of the wood chips out of those two areas into solid surface. So the solid surface that we're looking at this point would be like Penny Playground, but in big squares. It's firmly attached, but that way you don't have to do a big section. If something happens and it gets destroyed, burned, whatever, you can just take out one of those squares. I'm not saying that it would be easy, but that's more doable than trying to cut out off of a large area.
Isn't that over a septic?
It is over, no, I don't know if it's a septic, but it does have a sewery thing.
Yeah,
So we'd have to have that moved, which I think probably Public Works, it's not that far in. So, and I'm not sure why they put that there in the first place. I have no idea over, you know,
It's convenient, probably.
yeah, so.
Well, part of the question is why they didn't move it when they put the playground equipment in.
Yes,
That's what the case-
because it has a little thing right by where that sticks up, very awkward.
Yeah,
Yeah, and the kids apparently at some point were throwing chips down in there and whatnot, apparently.
clarification, you said one of the criteria that affected is an RCO grant was the income status of the community,
Yeah,
whether they're low income or not. And I assume that that goes back to a few years ago when they came and did a survey and they surveyed who they want to survey.
It was the census.
Well, but it was a very limited, if I understand it right, it was a very limited number of people that they contacted. And that it was the people that were home at that particular time. And it was all I'm going is what was reported to council.
Yeah, more to the point it was the 2020 census. And what ended up happening is those that really needed to be counted didn't answer their door.
Yeah.
And then there was a attempt, about, I want to say 9-10 months later to try to capture those, and that wasn't successful either.
So there's nothing that can be done until the 2030 census,
that is
or
correct.
is there?
Well, so, Eric has been in contact with Marie Perez's office, and, they're willing to help. Unfortunately, he just doesn't have the bandwidth right now to pursue it, so that's actually one of the very high priorities for Sherry, is to start researching and figure out if that can be remedied before another census.
Yeah, because it's, I mean, it was like that point in time, things just changed dramatically because, and the community hadn't shown that type of improvement. And who answered the door that day or whatever, was, and I think some stuff was mailed out too. Possibly at that point.
Well, you get door hangers and notification right around the census. But then there's also door knocking towards the end of that cycle.
Well, I started doing some research on it, and it says it cannot be changed because that's a legal thing that happened. So but then it talks about other requests.
Perez's office
Something?
has some ideas. It's just, it needs someone that actually will.
Pursue it and
Pursue
be
it.
really involved in it, and it sounds like they're not very willing at the census end of it to want to change things.
Right, but we're confident that we're taking Marie Perez at her word,
Oh,
is
yeah.
that she would like to help this community, so we just
Yes.
need to get. And again, it's gonna be a priority for Sherry
Yeah.
to get plugged into this.
Well, the thing is too, I don't know why they used the census because they know it was highly inaccurate. Everybody, you know,
It's
all
the only
over.
tool they have.
Yeah, so if they're gonna go with that criteria, but yet, we're listed as a distressed county, we are listed as a food desert, we are listed as every child gets free lunch. And because we're so low income, we're federally listed, that's federally funded. So that was part of my letter, is like, how is this all missed? And what they use for social vulnerability, which that's kind of where I got miffed in the first place, is they used a map. There's actually a map of infamy that has all of the cities, that's Washington. And if you're socially vulnerable, your area is in orange. If you're a tribe, you're in gray. Okay. And those what they went for high priority. So guess where all of the orange areas are? Centralia, Chehalis, Morton is for this county, which Morton is great. But all around the entire area of Seattle, entire like Burien, Kent, all of these places jumped way up because they're in this orange social vulnerability. And it seems very, it's like a made up data thing, you know what I'm saying? So that's what they kind of went off of. And my thing to them was, okay, so now that you've paid hold to everybody, and this is the number, the ranking score that you gave us as Toledo, there's not any point for us to ever apply for any more grants, because this is what you now have scored us at. And everybody is going to go up, and we're gonna stay way down here. So, so we'll see if they will be willing to look at, you know, changing that, because they know it wasn't fair, you know. The other thing too, is my feeling is why are we competing for their grants, those RPO grants or any other grants? Small cities should not be competing with large organizations and large cities. If they get $3 million, why is it $1 million for smalls, $1 million for mediums, and $1 million for large? Whatever that amount is, divide it up, and that way you are competing with other small communities and the way they're going to be writing their grants and what they're going to be having to say. It's a lot different than having professional grant writers on your staff, like your Seattle.
Right.
You know, and program managers and project managers that they get. And we're told no, because you can't hire a grant writer, so.
In reality, it would probably be 500,000 for small, 500,000 for medium, and 2 million for the large. Is the way they would set it up, and they would justify that by population served. But the fact of the matter is that 500 would be more than we're getting.
Yeah, so we'll have to see.
I don't know, this is,
Oh, yes, it's a pain.
I know, with people being on, EBT cards and things like that.
Yeah.
Don't they have a zip code that has to go with it or something that they know where, so it can kind of help out?
That was my thing, is did you actually look? Because you say, they listed low income locale or something like that. And my thing was, did you actually use the city of Toledo, who applied as the city of Toledo and not the surrounding zip code? That's the county.
Correct.
So, yeah, so we'll have to see if that's what they did or didn't do, or it's done, it's over with.
It's over with,
But if we can have those changes made or have a conversation, the conversation about the 1.2 million is the property that the city owns, by what I call the poop ponds out there by the sewer plant, because that's a lot of land and it's waterfront. The city now owns waterfront. We've always talked about a park, and at some point somebody did some drawings that used to be up on the wall here some years ago. And I don't know what happened to those drawings, but somebody did some pretty good ones. And he said, because my question to them was, could we hire a company that would design something so that we could apply in the future? Could we use this money for that, where they have a community meeting and get all of this input? And he said he didn't think so, but they do have another grant. Mom, I looked it up, it won't be able to apply for it until the fall of next year, and it wouldn't be till 2025. But if we plan for it, we can do that. Or he said, what you could do is hire somebody to do a design for you. And he said that would be a different way to have the same result pretty much. And you'd actually have something, you know what you were looking for, you know what it would look like, and you'd have an idea of how much money you would need. You know, I know the city's strapped for money, and do you really want to take on another park? The thing is, those parks bring in a lot of money. a lot of money. Centralia and Chehalis, excuse me, saw a huge, they got 4 of these RCO grants in 1 year, 4 different ones to do that penny playground and those sports things. And the income from that has been astronomical because they're bringing in all kinds of people for those games, and they're staying in the hotels and motels, staying over the weekends and all of that. So it's been really beneficial to them. But so they got this grant as well. That was either number 4 or number 5, I'm not sure. But they were able to come up with 1.4 million is a match for those grants. So not exactly deferred payment or maintenance people, you know, but still. So it's kind of a done thing, but you know, not fair. So hopefully we can make some changes. And I know that, I don't know if it was Eric, somebody might talk to Ms. Perez about the granting system in Washington State. And she's looking at trying to get it changed. Because I wanted to do the trees so that we could get the trees replaced in the park and some of these other ones. And the instructions was 124 pages. Oh, and 4 webinars. And then a pre-conference application webinar.
See, and that's where the bigger places have the advantage, because they have somebody they hire to do all of that.
Yes.
And so,
Yeah.
they can get it done.
Seattle got $12 million to do it. So that makes it tough.
Okay.
So I'm still fighting the good fight, still trying to find money for us.
Yeah.
Never say die.
Right.
So,
I say die all the time.
yeah. And for the kitchen pavilion, to be honest, I don't know, I have not been able to find construction grants, at least at this point. My feeling is, and I've said it all along, is this next election, I think we're gonna see a lot of this money for grants that we've seen an absolute explosion of funding is going to dry up. I really believe it. So you're starting to tighten down and take money from the IRS. You're gonna stop giving a lot of money to every state to, you know, do grants. So I think it's gonna be some tightening of the belt. So that's gonna mean us fostering relationships with foundations and other organizations and trying to, you know, make things happen.
Have you tried maybe like, the Home Depot and what's the other one? Lowe's, cause they have, sometimes they have grants through it and they'll have people come and do things, so I just.
No. Lowe's wouldn't do it here, we don't have a Lowe's in this community, and we don't have one in this county, so they're out.
Okay.
Number 2 is Home Depot is a very minimal amount. And I haven't checked into it recently, but I want to say a couple of years ago, I checked into it here for the city. And I want to say the most was around $5,000. And the manager got to choose, and Walmart as well, who they were going to support. So for example, here, Walmart chose to support firefighters and EMTs, so, and that's who they were funding for their grants and things like that. So, and that's a small amounts. We need the big foundations. One of the ones I was thinking too is the Ben B. Cheney Foundation. They were a huge lumber family, and now they have a foundation. They may be funding more, but nowhere near. We need 100,000, but they could be part of the puzzle. But usually I want to say 20 grand-ish, maybe 25.
You were saying something about Paul Allen?
Yeah, I got an invite to apply or to go at least listen to the webinar. I don't think that's really a huge plus, maybe. I mean, it's better than not being invited, so you're not even at the table, but they'd be sending out. I've never applied to Paul Allen, so they wouldn't know who I was, but Arts Fund, that's who I got the grant for the stuff around town for us, for the Historical Society. So that's where I was on their radar, but they gave out 1,000, they had a record of 1,000 grant. So
So,
that would mean 1,000 people would be doing the exact same thing, so.
so for the playground and you're talking about the kitchen area, right?
Yeah.
Were you talking about, like, they have to revamp the whole thing, or?
We had, Mike and I went and asked, Kendall, thank you, Kendall Richardson, who was gracious enough to come out on Saturday in the summertime. And, thought that he could get it done for 100,000.
And that,
There's no foundation under it, they
Right.
just built, and it was not built to, modern standards.
Built in the fifties.
Yeah, and
Right.
by volunteers that were gracious enough to do their time, but now it's really, it's in rough shape. So the walls are cracking and the logs are leaning, and it will probably survive an earthquake when everything else goes down, but we really do need to try to do, right.
so that 100,000 or whatever he was saying, that was like to rebuild a new one or to
No.
fix everything?
Fix. The community doesn't want a new one. And, it's part of
He
who
was
we are.
taking the floor out.
Yeah,
all
it's
the way
all
around.
cracked and heaved and that, yeah,
On a new floor.
and foundation, so that means going on the outside of it. And we have to, and that was one of the reasons that we didn't do an RPO grant to get that fixed. Because it was a really short timeline and, you have to use the money within that timeline. And one of the things is you have to, if you're gonna do ground disturbing by law now through the governor's office, it's 2102, I think, but they, you have to go through the Department of Archaeology and fill out all these forms, and then it goes to the tribe.
Correct.
And it could trigger a cultural review. If it triggers a cultural review, then it's a lot of time.
Well, thank you, Joe. That's a lot
I
of
don't know if that's very helpful.
interesting information and a little depressing, but
Well,
this now we.
a lot of depressing is there's nothing left
Right.
for us to do, so. We'll still move on. It might take longer.
Anything else, Ron?
I don't have anything else.
So, well, real quick, do you guys need to decide if we want to put 6 more spaces in? Do you care? We've got tons of ground over on that side, towards the school.
There's tons of, there is, but personally, I would like to see it put in nicely, like where it's just not thrown into there and easy access, because now you're looking at are they saying tent sites or are they saying trailer sites?
No, just 24 camping or 22 camping would be the criteria, which would be our. And so it could be dry camping.
And the other thing is, it's like for, we're doing our best for signage where our centers go. There's still not very good signage or anything there that shows where, where these sites are. We're really gonna have to work on that. But if we do that, then we're going to have to make sure that they're really set up properly, so. I'm just,
Needs to be designated parking.
yes, designated parking, because they just can't.
Well, they would pull into their own site, just like you do it.
It's just that we have to sit down.
It would have to be designed,
Probably at this point in time, the only thing that would be appropriate would be for the park board to make a recommendation to the council that we would pursue the possibility of adding additional sites.
Yeah.
And then they would then decide
Do you want to
whether or not we go
into it?
forward or not. And if we go forward, then we would have to come up with a plan. But at this point in time, is it even feasible other than a fast walk around? And if we got room, then there certainly should be room. And part of developing that is that we can do signage throughout all the things. That's a relatively, it's a difficult matter now, but it's a relatively small matter in the larger scheme of things, is that we could come up with a.
Because when you're adding more sites, you're adding more things that could possibly go wrong.
Absolutely,
And,
absolutely.
and we're trying to, you know,
But the purpose behind adding the more sites isn't just to get more sites, it's so that we can apply for additional money
Right.
to
Right,
do,
and that will
to do everything.
give you more income from that park. That
Yeah.
park will start working for you, hopefully more than it is.
Yeah.
right,
It has been, I mean, just that Firefly alone.
has
was
helped.
just- Yeah,
And I know it can be better, like more people could come in
yeah,
and see it. The bathroom situation, how that's just something different. The locks on it. The doors are getting ruined because we have to leave the deadbolts open so people can get in and out. Cause that coating on it, it doesn't lock the door automatically or keeps it unlocked. I guess over here, the bolt launch, that it's all set by timer. And then it opens at one time and then it closes it. Over there, we had to stick the deadbolt out, so what's happening now is that it's getting all loose.
Yeah.
Where the thing is, so it's, and plus where they put the coating is not ADA. Like nobody in a wheelchair would be able to reach that coating if they wanted to.
Hmm.
So, and I already had one kid got locked in, the parents came and ran, and I was like, oh my gosh.
How did the kid get locked in there?
Very easily,
Oh.
because there was that deadbolt. And he went this way because, you know, that's what they're taught to get out, you know, to get in. So he went this way and he shut the door and he couldn't get back out. Cause it's locked. Poor little guy.
Yeah, it's so terrifying.
I found him 3 days later.
No. He goes, he just kind of looks at me with big eyes and goes, I locked it the door. I don't know how.
So what happened to
Yeah, I don't know.
Move to adjourn, anyone?
I would so move.
Should,
All in favor?
but do we want to move to adjourn or do we want to do like what we said? Sorry about. For the sites,
Recommendation,
Do we need to make a formal?
I think you need more information before council's going to,
yeah. Okay,
consider that.
but I was really wondering whether or not we should even move forward without the council's permission, so, no problem, okay. Then I move to adjourn.
okay,
Well, are you?
Through 30 seconds.
no, it should,
Oh, well, my question was, are you gonna make a decision that you're gonna go out there so that you can kind of have an idea to tell council what you're looking at?
Yeah, that was my point, is that I
Yeah.
think you need a little more
Yeah.
information. What I've learned from planning commission puts together proposals that include a recommendation that council can consider.
It's pretty specific.
It can be, yeah, but just to have council say, yeah, go investigate it,
it's not going to.
well, they'll say yes.
Yeah.
And you're back to where you are right now.
Yeah.
Well, my question is what comes first, you know, the A or the B, and the fact of the matter is that I didn't want to be moving presumptuous to saying we're out here to look, and then somebody at the council getting upset because the park board is talking about taking action. That's where I was at.
Any work that our volunteer organizations are willing to do, the council is gonna be incredible.
Okay. So then in which case, then we should set a time
Okay.
to go out there.
And
Okay.
Mike.
And Mike, you can set the time and get hold of everybody, and then whoever wants to join can, and whoever doesn't does too.
Yeah.
And okay, so
What are we looking at?
And I'm just gonna tell you, Tim would probably like to look.
Yeah.
At it with you guys, and that's a Friday, Saturday, he gets Friday, Saturday and Sunday off, so.
so So, Mike, you can go ahead and move forward and try to set something up.
Yeah.
Try to include Tim and, the members and, then we'll, Joe and let's go. And then we'll go from there.
This Saturday, okay?
From my standpoint, it's good, but you want to talk to the other people too.
I'll find out, and I'll just find out, Tim,
Yeah.
well, I know,
Oh, I don't think Mike Fisher probably can come.
Oh.
Cause that's, he's not working on Saturday.
Well, he can make the choice if he wants to come or not, and so. And the fact of the matter is, if not, then those who go there can make him meet them there during his hours. And say, this is what we're proposing and where are you at? And Mike very likely could come. And make the decision to take an hour out of his Saturday to come over because the other people are taking an hour out of their Saturday. But even if he doesn't come, then the biggest thing is for him to at some point, not necessarily to do much more than to weigh in as to how the impact that's going to be on to the streets and parks. Departments.
Yeah, and the feasibility of even making it happen. You know?
so don't see if you see Tim all stressed out, because he has blown leaves 100 times and we had a huge wind, the big windstorm. I didn't get off work till way late and I went, oh, look at this, you can see the road, it's so nice. Next morning I woke up and I went, I just laughed. I didn't say a word. He goes, "Did you
Eventually, they're all down though.
I know, I said, did you see there's no road?
Second?
See,
I second.
Oh, I second? What am I seconding though? Oh, adjourn. Oh, I second that. It's like, what am I? Better leave there 10 minutes.